like to invite my colleagues here to join me here on the panel. Let me start with Dr. Moise Wijirimana from the Central Bank. He's a Financial Inclusion and Education Manager at the Central Bank. The following one is Jean Bosco Iachu, the CEO from Access to Finance Rwanda. You're almost welcome here on the panel. The third one is Eugenie Mukanhagwera, the country representative from CBM Country Office, Rwanda. You are welcome. And Grace Dushimana, CEO of Vision Fund, Rwanda. You are most welcome. So these are now our panelists, and we have a couple of questions that I want to ask them, of course, vis-a-vis what we have discussed. Now let me start with the key questions on with Central Bank. What are the measures and the strategies in place at the Central Bank to ensure that persons with disabilities are able to access financial services?
That's a very good question, and it covers most of different questions that people have been asking. But before maybe talking about different policies, strategies in place, rules and regulations in place, let me just start thanking AFR and all the stakeholders who have organized the event. This, of course, Finscope survey has been disseminated some times back, but it's good that this kind of thematic report now is focusing on people with persons with disabilities, which is key and which is part of different country policies, as you have asked. There is one strategy that someone from UNDP talked about as a challenge, but at least that strategy exists, although it's not yet approved, but it covers a number of activities that target persons with disabilities. That strategy has 5 pillars. It's a national financial inclusion strategy, and one of the pillars, that's 5th pillar, has a specific focus on persons with disabilities. It covers, and let me just try to highlight different measures that are in this strategy. One is about sensitizing financial service providers to the needs of people with disabilities. And the second one is about collecting the information on the level of financial inclusion for people with disabilities. Of course, it's not one institution to do this, and you have seen that both UNDP and this research spearheaded by Access to Finance Rwanda, of course in partnership with National Institute of Statistics, Minecofin, and the Central Bank. So that's part of the information collected on people with disabilities, and it's part of that strategy. Because as someone said, if we don't know the issues, if we don't have statistics about people with disabilities, financial inclusion, then how can we have interventions that support them? So the first step, and I appreciate that at least we have now the baseline, which will be used for us to assess different strategies that will be implemented, of course, to make sure that persons with disabilities get access to finance. And this is an eye-opener for financial service providers. At least they know that this target, this group, this segment is facing this number of issues. So how can we tailor products that meet these people's needs? And of course, among these, the measures to be addressed as per the strategy I mentioned, there is developing products that are tailored to the needs of persons with disabilities. Someone mentioned the issue of ATMs that cannot serve these people properly. So that's an area. At least people should know that there is something missing. There is a segment that is facing challenges, and challenges that can be easily addressed. So there are policies in place. Maybe let me not talk much about this, but at least try to mention a very important law that was enacted recently in March. That is the Financial Service Consumer Protection Law. And this law has a specific article which mentions that all the financial service providers should serve financial service consumers without discrimination. It has a number of articles, but I have chosen that one to highlight that it's now a principle, it's an obligation to all financial service providers to serve different segments without discrimination. Of course, that's a law, it gives a principle, and in the near future, we'll have different implementing regulations that can now give details and put in place requirements that people should meet to serve persons with disabilities. So at a country level, let me not say that it's an effort of the central bank only, but the effort of different stakeholders to make sure that persons with disabilities get access to finance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's answer now give me to go to another question about the law is there. What about the actions? Let me just go quickly to the one of the example that we have here as Vision Fund, as one of the microfinance. The law is there in terms of making sure that all services, financial services, are really access to persons with disability. They are able to access it. On your side, what about the low level of awareness, the low level of awareness about the financial service providers in terms of providing services to persons with disabilities who are there? They have money, they want to access it. Are you available? Are you aware about how you can work with them? How are you implementing the law that's already mentioned by Doctor? Thank you. You are most welcome now.
Thank you so much, Amir, for that good question. Allow me to start by thanking Efara for the good presentation. Actually, I was very impressed to see the report. And, you know, as a financial institution, we are much concerned to see how is the level of inclusion and exclusion. And I was so surprised to see the biggest number of people, persons living with disability are not included. And yes, it is a gaps which is being observed, and I think everyone can observe that. But also, if you look at the report, when I was reading the numbers, it was showing that the person living with the disability are the one with the lowest income, and they are excluded. And yet, if you look at the mandate for example, for the microfinance institution, they are the one to go in deep rural area and serve those people with low income. Actually, this is our target. If you look for the big commercial bank, they are not interested with those people with low income. But if you look at for the purpose or for the mandate of this microfinance institution, I think this person are supposed to be our targeted client. So when it comes to the financial literacy program, yes, financial service providers must ensure that all people are given equal chance to access both financial and non-financial services. Let me just comment on the non-financial services, which maybe includes also the financial literacy. I know as a financial institution, we are not providing only financial services, we're also going to the non-financials, which includes the financial literacy trainings to educate people how to use loans, how to save for the future, how maybe to access the insurance. I also saw the report about the insurance. The exclusion is still the highest. But for the financial services, to eliminate this gap, first of all, I'll say that this has to start with the financial services provider staff, the staff. We have to train our staff to create the awareness that persons living with disability, they are also able, they are also capable to generate income, to have the businesses which can help them to generate activities. So as long as these people are able, they are economically active, they are our targeted, and you have to educate them. So we have to provide them with the knowledge, skills, how they can make sure they increase their earnings, how they can do the spendings, how they can save for the future, how they can do the investment. So this has to start with awareness among our staff. And also, as a financial services provider, according to the testimony from William, we have to make sure that we put in place the thyroid financial literacy program. We can have just audio programs. I just learned from one NGO last year when during the COVID, some of the activities were suspended, and they have to provide financial literacy. That is one of the local NGO. So they say that we are not able to put people together, to gather them together, but we can generate a video which can be distributed electronically for those people, and they can hear, they can get access to the trainings. So I think when we are developing the financial literacy program, the financial services provider, we have to make sure that we tailor this product based on the needs of these beneficiaries with disabilities. And also, one thing that I can mention, and this is common for both commercial bank and microfinance institution, is just to make sure that we are flexible in timeline and providing the financial trainings. Because sometimes people are quick, they just want to train people, disburse, but you have to make sure that there are some people who are weak, which maybe can take a long time to educate them. So we have to have this flexibility in order to eliminate the gap. Lastly, I know this is not just for the financial institution, all stakeholders, NUDOR, FRA, even Amir, we have also to be involved. Because, as you said, the biggest issue is the awareness. All the financial institutions, they have to be sure, they have to know that we are not focusing on the physical appearance, we are just focusing on the financial, economic activities or ability. Thank you so much.
And thank you for the answer that you really highlighted there. And now I would like to ask AFR, now what could be, like, what kind of work that AFR is doing in terms of providing technical support to different financial service providers in terms of equipping them with technical support and also designing the financial products and services to meet the needs of persons with disabilities. You are welcome, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. I would probably talk about the plans we have rather than what we have achieved because we believe in, as a market catalyst or supporting the financial sector, to start with data, with evidence, so that you have the right information and then design the right solutions to identify problems, but also look at the root causes of such kind of constraints that are there. So the journey has started, I believe, with this research. It was deliberate that we had a conversation with NUDOR for some time and discussed about how do we actually understand the landscape for financial inclusion of people, of persons with disabilities. And this report clearly highlights where the problems are and how we can go ahead and support the financial sector. So with the evidence, I believe it's not only having this data now, but it's ensuring that the subsequent Finscope surveys or other researches that we want to conduct, we ensure that we provide trend analysis and show how the situation is getting better over time, so that every stakeholder is aware of what are the constraints that or gaps that remain. Number two is really looking at our new strategy that is there, covering the next 5 years. We have a specific pillar that is looking at deepening financial inclusion and resilience of underserved and underserved segments. So Rwanda, I feel I should kind of highlight this. Yes, we saw the numbers, but let's not just focus on the negative side. Because, I mean, when you talk about 91% of people or persons with disabilities that say that they have access to financial services, that's a good number to have, because some other countries haven't reached that number. So the 9% that is excluded, what should we do? I think that's where we are having this discussion. But also those 91%, are they accessing the right products? Are they accessing the right solutions? I think that's also another homework we have as stakeholders to address. Now, we have put that into one pillar, looking at persons with disabilities, understanding the issues, and see how we can support the financial sector. And when I talk about the financial sector, it's really the entire spectrum, not only the microfinance institutions and circles, but also the commercial banks, insurance companies, even the capital market, so which is developing in this country. So we want to look at that entire landscape and say, how do we support them? So what we want to do is not only looking for specific interventions towards persons with disabilities, but ensuring that whatever we do, we streamline or we mainstream these aspects. So the way we mainstream gender, we know that every aspect of the work we do, we must mainstream gender. So we want also to bring inclusion of persons with disabilities to ensure if you are supporting SMEs to access financial services, how do you ensure that you look at that particular segment of persons with disabilities and ensure that they are also equally served? But also we look at different aspects. Are they accessing? Are they using? Are they having the right products? So that's, I think, the journey we want to undertake. Probably I must say that I think it was mentioned about mindset, awareness, mindset change. I was telling people that we came here, but we are also learning because it's more of an eye-opener to understand how we should deal with this issue. So we have learned and we are learning. It's a continuous journey. And we want to provide this learning to others that didn't come or that needs to do something. So that's the financial sector. That should be our mandate as AFR to continue supporting. I want to conclude with a fact about the law, the new law that Moise has mentioned. In fact, the law is clear and the principle is there and the willingness to support is there. But the issue is, I mean, the English always says that the devil is in the details. So, well, the principle is there, the law is there. So, what is happening on the ground? I think that's what is most important for us to see transformational change in the market. So, that's our mandate as AFR, to really support financial service providers, to say, well, I mean, talk about this law and say and what it requires, and then ask about the challenges they are facing to implement this law, and if they need any support, then we come in. And I think it's very critical that we work with stakeholders here present, because we can't claim that we have that expertise as well. We may not be understanding how to go about it, so talking to you, talking to persons with disabilities, understanding the challenges that they have, and then educating the financial sector to be able to accommodate them and serve them better is really something that probably should be our next course of action going forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for your contribution and good insight about the actual or what is being done on the ground in terms of providing support to financial service providers. This gives me an idea of thinking about, we have already doing so many things about putting in place some saving groups in partnership with CBM, Rwanda and Germany, and Scottish government as well, where we created around 1,700 saving groups for persons with disabilities, and with the member of around 42,000. Where they managed to bring together around 200 million only for their savings and also trying to borrow money for different businesses they invested. I'm just thinking about CBM country office or Germany. What do you think as this already saving group that already created could be an entry point in terms of increasing the access to financial services for persons with disability in a district where the project is being implemented? Yeah, maybe you can tell us about it for your experience. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Emir, and thank you also for the question. Yeah, as in CBM, I can remember that when we were introducing the VSL here in Rwanda, I think it was around 2015, in collaboration with NUDOR. Yeah, nobody could believe that the VSL can be a success here in the country. Yeah, however, it has been proven that the VSL are really a good initiative for both people with disabilities and also for financial institutions, because now we are talking about access to financial services. Yeah, because for persons with disabilities, yeah, the VSL helps them to understand that they are able to do savings with the little money they can gain, and also to access loans so that they can implement some income generating activities. So in the beginning, yeah, it was quite difficult to understand this concept. However, with support from the business mentors under the project, who helped persons with disabilities to understand why savings are important, and also to mobilize them and to bring them together, persons with disabilities managed to gather some small savings, and then after they were able to get some loans, and they were also supported by the same business mentors to know how to develop, for example, a small project to generate income. So through the VSL groups, persons with disabilities were educated, they were trained, they were sensitized. So they are now self-confident that they are able to increase their economic capacities like other people without disabilities. Yeah, so and on the side of the financial institutions, now they are now somehow they have a kind of awareness. Their awareness has increased, so that now they believe that persons with disabilities can be part of their client. They can now benefit from loans and conduct some activities and then pay back the loan. And this is really working very well. And now people with disabilities who are part of the saving groups are somehow they have enough capacity to take care of their families, to pay the scholarship for their children, to pay for health services, and so on. Currently, if you see how we started in one district within the country, in Gasabo district, it was a kind of pilot. And currently, the program is implemented in 9 districts within the country. And this came because we were receiving, NUDOR was receiving a request from district authorities because they were aware of the benefits of the VSL groups. And now the program is implemented in 9 districts. And next year, because we were also realizing that the needs are there and the project is successful, CBM put efforts in mobilizing other additional funds. Now, next year, the program will be implemented in another 5 districts. And this was requested by the district themselves. And yeah, I do hope that maybe in some 5 coming years, the program may cover the whole country. So this shows that the program is successful, and where it is implemented, the life of persons with disabilities has changed. Yeah, so that's what I can mention. It is really exciting to see how the VSL group are changing the life of persons with disabilities in our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for highlighting this, and this already gave me an idea of thinking about having the national strategy or having the national policy on saving groups. I think we do not have it here in Rwanda, but the other countries already have the policy that's already regulating or establishing the approach of VSLAs and saving groups. Now I just want to ask the person from the central bank, do you think is a key to have an idea or maybe a policy or strategy of saving groups in a country? Do you think it's really a key and important to have the document in place?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, it is key. And as I highlighted in my introduction, the National Financial Inclusion Strategy has a part that talks about savings group. I didn't mention it because I was focusing on persons with disabilities. But beyond attracting more people to join saving groups, there is need, actually there are challenges that savings groups are facing. And maybe I can talk about these challenges, but at least mentioning that we can now be happy that at least we know the number of savings group we are having in the country through the saving group map, which was created in support from Access to Finance Rwanda, and now it is hosted by the central bank. That saving group map shows the number of groups that are in the country, and as of 2018, we actually had more than 1.1 million members of the saving groups in 47,000 groups. And guess what? Financial service providers who are here. These saving groups have saved around 31 billion Rwandan francs in savings. And when it comes to the loans that they have given to members, that is 24 billion Rwandan francs. So that is, although these savings groups are informal, but you can see how they are doing a lot. They are saving, they have savings, 31 billion and more. And now I like what CBM mentioned on the number of groups they are having now, the amount that they managed to save. So you can understand that savings groups, although informal, they are contributing to people's well-being. Now, they have challenges. So what challenges? There are many, and I think Eugenie can be in a better position to explain these challenges than I do, but I of course have some information. These savings groups, some of them are still saving using the rocks that they are having at home, the cash box, and you know, these ones are not safe. And of course, although you have saved for quite a period of time, let me say for a year, there is no credit history. No one would trust that you have saved, you have paid back the loan, and all this. It has been shown that these savings groups, although they are saving, they are trying to get the small loans, but they face challenges that these loans are not enough. Like if they want to do some business that could contribute to the well-being of the members, they face challenges because they cannot easily get loan. And the only way to facilitate these people getting loans from formal financial service providers is linking them, connecting them with financial service providers so that they can move from informal to formal. You have seen that Ephraim said that 72.3% of persons with disabilities have access to formal financial services in comparison to 77% of the rest of the population. So it's still low. Formal financial inclusion is still low. Now, talking about the strategy you have mentioned, the strategy is not the strategy we are thinking about, and of course, we hope that before the end of 2022, we'll have that strategy. It's not about formalizing savings group, registering them as institutions or whatever. It's seeing how services provided by savings group can be digitized. I think maybe Bosco can even highlight this. AFR conducted a pilot study, a quite informative pilot study on digitization of savings group, and a number of savings group have been digitized. And during COVID-19, those who were digitized at least could continue their business. They could not meet, but at least they could get loans, they could get back their money, like all these services. But now, those who are not digitized, they face challenges. So this strategy we are thinking about is how savings group can be digitized. By digitizing this savings group, we'll move those people who are now informally served to being formally served. And of course, directly will be having impact on those people if they can get formal financial services from banks, from microfinance, from SACCOs. This one will contribute to the well-being of these people, of course, increasing usage. Someone has mentioned the level of services people get. People can have access, but if there is no usage, we will not have impact. So that's what we are having. And for your information, we are also updating the savings group map as for the previous years. So we'll be able to reach out to you, Eugenie, and all the other people who are supporting saving groups to know now the current level, the number of savings group you are having, the amount, and most importantly, to create awareness to financial service providers so that they can know that these savings groups are existing, so that they can think about products that can meet these groups' needs. Thank you.
And this already has a linkage with the second question that I want to ask Fusion Fund. One of the recommendations from the report, they mentioned that the user-friendly mobile money application is likely to increase financial inclusion of persons with disability, especially living in rural areas. How could financial service providers encourage user-friendly mobile money application to increase the uptake and the usage of services that's already mentioned in the report?
Thank you so much, Emir, for that good question. I think it will be easier for me to respond after my colleague from the central bank mentioned about the digitalization process. What I can say, it is just obvious that the mobile banking is one of the key enablers in to speed up the financial inclusion. This was maybe everyone can testimony or can testify the experience that we all went through, especially during the COVID with the lockdown, where people were not able to move around, to go to the bank, to make maybe a long distance to go to achieve the different financial services from the bank. So the mobile banking is one of the enabler to speed up this process. But as financial services provider, this can be done through the intervention with different stakeholders. all the telecom companies, all the MNOs, all different software developers, they also have to be involved to develop different digital solutions which are suitable for the person living with disability. So another thing that can be done, not only for the person living with disability, even for the rest of the population, some of the digital services, maybe the mobile banking solution, sometimes they are not affordable when it comes to the tariffs, when it comes to the cost. I think this has to be engage all the partners to make sure that the product in place are affordable. Because we may have different good solution in place, but if they are not affordable, still people may resist in the usage. So I think as financial service providers, we are always in the businesses trying to develop different tools to help our clients, but we have to make sure that they are affordable and they respond to the needs for those people. Especially for the person living with the disability, when I'm saying about the mobile banking, maybe for some institution which has also the agents banking, we have to make sure that our presence or our product, we have, for example, the agents everywhere, where these people who cannot move because of the disability can get access to those services. I think this is something that the financial services provider can also make sure that our products are affordable and are availability and affordability of those services. As I mentioned in the first question about the financial literacy, we have also the package for the digital literacy, because people have also to be aware on how to use this technology. And I think as financial services provider, yes, we have different teams, we have the customer care responding to the calls, but we have also to make sure that we have people in the rural areas, deeper rural areas, helping people to understand, teach them how to use it, teach them how to save with the mobile banking, teach them how to keep even their password, because sometimes people, they just tell to everyone their password, and this can lead to the fraud. So I think we have to play a big role as financial services provider to make sure that we protect people and we give them the proper services. Finally, what I can say is for financial services provider, of course, when it comes to the way we provide this financial, as financial institution, we have to make sure that we digitalize our operation. I know we talked about the digitalization of the savings group operation, but also some of, for example, some of the microfinance institutions, they are still writing checks when they are doing payment. They are still also, clients are still coming to do the repayment of their loan. So our contribution is just to make sure that also we digitalize our operation. We can do the disbursement to customers' account, and we don't ask them to come to the office to make the repayment when the installment is due. They can also push their payment without coming. So I think we still have a big role to play. And as I said, due to the COVID, I think people now change their mind. It will be easier to adapt. It will be easier to make sure that they can embrace this digital solution. So by conclusion on this, I think we saw the report about the inclusion, the usage of the mobile banking, but we still have to make sure that we increase the usage, the uptake. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, the CEO of Vision Fund. Now, the last question now goes to FR. I just want to ask you about this report that's already presented here. Highlighted or recommended that persons with disabilities that already own different businesses should be offered special support. Do you think that's a good idea? Or which support do you think that you can provide to these particular persons with disabilities in terms of accessing their financial services? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. That's a quite tricky question because when we talk about special support, some of the times we don't want to appear like when you offer that special support, we are marginalizing them, which is not right. Because I believe that persons with disabilities have capabilities, and those are majority actually when you look at the data. those people that have capabilities, but they have impairment that may not actually facilitate them to access and use financial services, we should facilitate them, not really provide any special support that wouldn't be considered as appropriate. So that's I think, a caution. But I do agree that when you look at businesses in Rwanda, so we produced another report, which is a specific thematic report on SME financing in Rwanda. Obviously, some SMEs in different sectors that are very productive, that would contribute much into the development of this country, they're still not having the right access and usage of product, or mainly credit. And there is a number of constraints that are there that need to be addressed. And when you look at them, those would apply also for actually persons with disabilities that are engaged in business. So I think it's very important that those barriers, we remove them, and obviously businesses that are owned by persons with disabilities would also benefit from there. Now, in addition to that, we need to understand better as stakeholders within the financial sector to say, well, in addition to this, what do we do next to ensure that whoever is running a business and has an impairment, is he facilitated? Is she facilitated properly? I was so touched by the testimony around with Brother William, where he can't get really access to a debit or credit card. Why? Really, it's you know, that's a mindset change that is required. So, because really not accessing just that basic really access to your cash. What about more sophisticated financial products? That might be much more complicated. So those are kind of aspects that we need to deal with. And when we deal with those, the mindset, create awareness, and ensure that financial institutions understand that, we are creating sustainability. Because when we come in with, for instance, a guarantee fund for these businesses that are owned by persons with disabilities, it might be there for some time and then it goes. But have you changed the mindset in the bank, in the MFI, insurance company, and so on? I think that's the number one. I think I would say that number two is really creating advocacy and ensuring that and engaging different key stakeholders. Tell them that, I mean, these are segments which is very important. Within the principle of leaving no one behind, I believe that persons with disabilities can play a key role in the development that we have. So if you leave them behind, then that's a problem. I would finish by actually probably creating a strong case. Demonstrating that businesses that are owned by persons with disabilities can thrive, can do better than actually even the average businesses in the country. So if we have those cases with some financial service providers, and we demonstrate that in a forum like this, where we share with different institutions within the financial sector, they would understand that probably that's a priority, and then be able to do good while they progress in their businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. I have only two questions now that I want to ask the central bank, Dr. Moise. And we are seeing the commercial banks and even microfinance that are really doing their business, let me say their businesses, but in the building, which is more public, but the buildings are not totally accessible for persons with the physical disability, especially for the wheelchair users, the person using wheelchair, where you can see the cashier sitting there on the office in the bank, but the person with the shortest stature are not even able to see them. And I'm the person that I need to take my money using my check, but I'm not able to see you when you are serving me. That's a challenge. and putting the stairs there, and even sometimes the staff there, they don't care about the person who's coming in to serve them, even if they have a physical disability, but they don't even care in terms of providing particular support to them. You as central bank, as a regulator, what do you think about these banks that are already there in terms of giving the paper to allow them to work, but yet in their accessibility as a building is not totally accessible for persons with physical disability? The second question, do you think providing support or guarantee funds to financial services in terms of satisfying them to provide support to persons with disability is also a key or a need that the central bank could also take it ahead and think about it, especially when they need, for example, if you think providing training to the MFIs staff on sign language interpretation, yet the bank, they say they don't have this particular budget to do that. Is there any particular fund that could also come from the central bank to the MFIs to satisfy the needs of persons with disability? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. These are tough questions. Number one, I think what I should mention is when it comes to accessibility because of the building, it's an issue, of course, that the regulator should look at, but you know that now I think that even the city of Kigali, the Ministry of Infrastructure, these days for a building, even small buildings, they have now requested them that when, like to get a permit to occupy that building, I think you need to prove that everyone can access it. Isn't it so? Sure. So that is those institutions working in the buildings that are not accessible. They are actually, I don't know why it's still happening, at least for the building. Because again, someone can access the building, but the way it is set up doesn't consider them. Maybe you can talk about so many areas, even at the reception, those people, like if you have a disability in terms of, like there are some disabilities that will not facilitate you even reaching out to that ATM the way it is set. So all those issues are there, but there is good news. At least in the central bank, for your information now, we have a specific department that is in charge of market conduct and consumer protection. So that business of protecting financial service consumers normally wasn't there as a specific mandate and having a specific department, but as of now, the central bank has a specific department that is in charge of protecting financial service consumers, and that is in charge of implementing the law protecting financial service consumers. So the law was in place, that is this year, beginning of this year, and subsequently there was a department created in charge of protecting financial service consumers. And that department, of course, is working on a number of regulations that implement that specific law. So in these regulations, and I think that one of the results of this meeting is discussing the current issues, and maybe as people draft regulation, think about adding some articles that takes care of these issues and see how these issues could be addressed. So that's, although as of now we don't have specific regulations of how the setup could be done, but this is our way. As we talk about avoiding any type of discrimination, this should be in all the aspects, not only on a specific product, but also on the setup, on everything that is there to facilitate financial service consumers. So on the first question, that's what I can say. And on the second, I think Iachu touched on that question. When we say there is need to have a guarantee fund, I may say probably it might work or it might not work. So saying that, yes, we agree that we need to have a guarantee fund, to me it would be, first, we need to dig deep and know whether this can work or not. Because when you look at numbers, I have tried to note them when Ephraim was presenting. When you look at numbers and the gaps that we are having when you compare people with persons with disabilities and the rest of the population, the difference is there, but it's not that big. And when you look at the cause of the differences, we should not have any difference. We should probably even have persons with disabilities that are highly included in comparison to the rest of the population. We should be happy if it happens like that. So, although we have small differences, we should work on closing these gaps. But before closing these gaps, we need to know the cause. Let me take an example of a key issue of only 15% of persons with disabilities who have access to formal credit. I tried to read about this and know what should be the reason that we have only 15%. Of course, if you say 15%, you should understand that the rest of the population also are not doing well. They are at 23%, but there is a gap of 8%. It's big. So the main issue is that there is an availability of products that are tailored to the needs of persons with disabilities. Now, if we bring in a fund, does it come to address the products that are tailored to the needs of persons with disabilities? My question would be, maybe not. Because if we could at least have these products, if people should think about having these products, think about this segment, then that will be enough. Then we can say, okay, there are these products, but they need support. But if they don't have any product, you can put in a fund, but the fund will not be used. We know that there are funds that have been put in place, but which have not been successful. So for me, maybe this is something that different stakeholders can think about. But as of now, what is most relevant, and that's my personal view, it's that all of us, different players in the market, government, different stakeholders, NGOs, those institutions that are supporting persons with disabilities, let's understand the needs of this segment. Let's play the role of advocacy for them. Instead of starting saying that, oh, there is this need of funds, someone said, whatever decisions we make, if they could be supported by scientific proofs, then that could work. But if we just say in our minds that what if we put in a fund, maybe people will even feel like there is a fund for us, so we don't even have to repay. And someone said these people are even repaying the loan. But if there is that fund, they could feel that, oh, we need to get money free of charge. I'm not against the fund, but if ever it's to be put in place, it should be informed by more research than just people saying that we could have in a fund. That's what I think I can mention about these questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everyone, especially for the panelists, for the answers and the contribution that provided during the whole discussion that we have had here. And I would like to request you to give them the round of applause, please. Yeah.